So it's Robert and Joy here, and today is our anniversary, 23 years.
23 years.
And so we wanted to do a little thing about 23 years in and 6 reasons why we still like each other. Now, we didn't write down 6 reasons why we could kill each other from time to time. So just know, anytime you have a like, you gotta, I'm gonna kill you too.
Yeah, we all have those moments. So, you know.
Well, yeah.
Me more than her, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But, you know.
No, really.
Part of it, one thing we found, this is not one of the 6 things, but one thing we both discovered many years ago is both of us had a passion for teaching and sharing and mentoring, and that's one reason why we love doing these shares. So hope you enjoy them. If you do, send us a heart or like or comment below. So
if you don't, send it to someone else.
If you don't, yeah, send it to somebody else that you really like. So anyway, so what's the first? We have several things to share.
So the first one is surrendering the need to be right. And
you mean I'm not always right?
I don't know how to tell you that.
You're
I'm right, pretty much 99 point. My sister used to say all the time, she would say she was sorry if she was ever wrong.
But she was never wrong.
She was never wrong.
She would say she's sorry, but she's then again.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I got it.
But our dear friend Brandon Barber, who is a coach, and we've used him quite a few times during different situations, and he taught us that about the need to be right, how the need to be right literally can kill a business relationship, a friend relationship, an intimate relationship, a marriage. So, wow, that one is really an important one.
So what's a practical example of that?
A practical example of that is...
Could it be loading the dishwasher?
Yeah, let it be. That's our dear friend Bethany.
There's not one way to do anything well.
Yeah.
The thing is, people just do things differently.
Yeah.
There's not one way. There's not. It's not black and white.
So when the person is helping, redoing just deflates everything. So if you're going to redo, at least wait till they leave the room.
And part of it, how it affects our business is, and I talk about this a lot in some previous videos, but I'll just say it again, how it really affects relationships, is focus on what the other is doing great.
Yeah.
And what qualities and positive aspects. We could always find the other.
Yeah.
But why go there?
Exactly.
Number 2
is finding things that we like to do. Now this one's important. Together and...
Get closer so I can hear you. And apart.
And apart. Sorry about that. I was sneaking into the other room there. So finding things we like to do together and apart. I think that one's really important, Robert.
So why do we include and apart? I think the biggest one we all know is date night. We're going to cover being present here in a minute. I've always spoiled number 6 here.
Spoiler.
But why do we also cover it's crucial to get quality time with each other, but why is it equally important for time apart?
Yeah. You know, sometimes when you do everything together, especially when you work from home, it can become like a little bit suffocating. There's some things that I love to do that Robert really doesn't enjoy, and things he really likes that I don't enjoy. So rather than surrendering those things, why not just do them apart? We do so much together, and we love that, and we have a great time. But when he's gone, I can tell you what I love to do. I love to stay up half the night. I love to putter in the house. I love to clean things I don't normally get done. I might want to do Netflix from midnight to 4 a.m. But you don't have to answer to anybody about that. You don't keep them awake or any of that. You just do it. And so there's just, I'm always so excited when it's time for us to get back together. Like Robert loves to hunt with his family. That's something they do every year together. It is their tradition and it is their passion, and they love being together like my brothers and sisters and I do.
And some of my ski trips I do with Joy, some without. And so,
we find those things.
Just find those things that we do together, and then also things we could do apart, and honor those, and be gracious and celebrate those times.
Yeah, absolutely.
So point number 3 is a big one, and it's a little more, I think, maybe simplistic. It's more practical, but practical isn't always practically lived. And here it is. We decided many years ago, and that we don't always do this perfectly, but we decided to never go to bed with negative emotions, kind of bowling or with walls up, never going to bed angry, if you will.
You know, the Bible actually speaks to that, and the Bible verse is, "Don't let the sun go down on your wrath," and it's so true. When you go to bed mad, you wake up mad, and so there have been people that died in their sleep. And what if that happened?
Heaven
and
forbid,
you know,
but,
your worst words, you know, were never rectified and made into sweet words. And so, just make that decision early on in your relationships, whether it's your kids or whatever. You just don't go to bed all pissed off.
Because so much
That's
of
the
the
Southern way of saying it.
Because so much of the time, I think, hopefully you found, and I'd love to get your comments on this, guys, but, you know, we found that often enough, some of the anger has arisen from just simply miscommunication, where we're not clear on the other's intention, what actually was spoken, or what actually took place, or the reason why. And so part of it is bringing clarity to the conversation and discussing and listening to both sides of it, and then having grace, not going back to point number one, not having to be right, having the grace, and just kind of working on putting those walls and pride down long enough to hear the other person out with grace and not trying to fix things, you know, like us men do.
Yeah.
So that's a big one.
Another one that we really like, and we actually carried this conversation a little bit earlier on one that we did, so we want to just hit it very briefly.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you're discussing things in a marriage or in any relationship, business, whatever it is, and the person's got to have time to think it through, to come to an answer that they can live with, whatever it is. Give them the time and the space. Demanding an answer right now just creates lots of problems. You know, I've told people before, like in business even, about buying something. I'm like, I'm going to buy it, but I got to think about it.
Or sleep on it.
Yeah, I got to sleep on it, but I got to come to the best decision here. So that time sometimes is really critical from making some really bad decisions. And, you know, I just think it's worth being able to have that time to mull it over. I'm a thinker. I got to think about it sometimes.
Yeah, and I'm more of an
Robert's
action-oriented
going to have
kind
it
of
done
guy.
yesterday.
I act on
Yeah.
it where she works through it.
Yeah.
And knowing that, it would
Got the puppy here?
be a bit challenging at times. We got to work through that and acknowledge how each other's, you know, makes decisions
work.
in a
Yeah.
different shape and
And
fashion.
makeup, yeah.
And this all ties to point number 5 is the small things are the big things. And from as little as the habit of saying thank you to, and pardon me, I grew up in the South, but I always been taught the small even acts of respect, where choosing to let joy, if I'm with other women, walk in front of me. I know it seems small and trite, but it almost grates on my heart to see maybe a man who's walking 20 steps ahead of his wife. Maybe she have a baby in her arms or a baby by the hand, and he's not just walking ahead to open the door. He's just walking ahead because there's no respect there. The small things become the big things, and it also, that definitely ties into conversation.
Right.
And even helping around the house. We've had videos on this, but those seeming little small things affect the intimacy, they affect the pride, they affect the walls coming down or the walls coming up.
Yeah.
They either create frustration or they create more joy. I'm talking all the time here, so.
Well, one of the last things that we
No,
wanted...
I'd love to talk more about the small than being the
but
big
it's
things.
going to go into that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to go into that. So part of that small and the big thing is really being present. When Robert and I first started business together, we can only speak from what we've experienced. There were times I felt like I was being fitted in literally. Like, kind of like you're going to play with the dog for a little bit. Sorry about this. Let me get this off of there. You know, it's like when you're going to throw the dog a bone. So like we would be, like Robert would be working, and it would be like we were supposed to have this time, but instead he stayed on the phone all the time. Or I did, vice versa. So this isn't just a Robert issue. So when you set that time aside to be present, the little things and how you do that are huge. If you keep checking the phone every 10 seconds, that's like a really big thing, but you may think it's a very small effort. When we wake up in the morning, I don't want the first thing to be our phones that we look at. I want to know good morning. And Robert fixes my coffee every morning, and this is what he says: "Sweetheart, your coffee's on the end table." And so that's where he puts it before we go downstairs where we drink our
And
coffee.
then we have our gratitude session.
Yeah.
We do have some of our kind of rituals that we've chosen to even take that ritual and make it even a more meaningful connection. So, point number 6 is, again, being present. And really being present is wherever we are, we strive to be there.
Yeah. If you're going to be present, be present. If you have something else going on, give it 100%.
Because multitasking doesn't really work. It's all it is simply never being fully present in any one thing.
Yeah.
And so if we're working, whatever the task we're doing and the person we're with, if we can strive more to be totally present. If we're with our spouse, with our significant other, being fully present. And sometimes we literally, power down. We turn the phones off, or if you have to, put a voicemail on there saying, "I'll be back at this time," and create those date nights and being present when you have a date night set. Say, today our date is starting here in 30 on the calendar.
Oh.
We have a set time today
It's
that
Friday?
will turn business off.
Yeah.
Okay, and we will have our celebrating our anniversary, and we have some movies in mind and some fun time together. So being present is a big one, and it's I think in this day and age, because of all the devices that can pull us here and everywhere thither, it's so important. I know even our grandkids were here for a week.
Yeah. I mean, we did not, like when it was time to play games, we said we're here for an hour. These phones don't come on the table. Carol Rodriguez, I think it was, actually said, there's not a placemat on the table for your phone. and so, the kids need it. I even think about the dog. When the dog wants our attention, as she did just a second ago, she's going to jump up, then she's going to bring her toys, and she's going to keep doing it until we show her the attention, which we will. We're talking about you as soon as we get off this video. But it's the same way. If the kids have to pull and pull and pull, by the time you're ready to do something, I don't know. I just get kind of passionate about that.
So she's demanding attention.
Yeah.
And she's right here. So
if you're the last thing on the attention list instead of the first, it doesn't feel good. Yeah.
So I hope these points have helped you. Hey, Michael. And again, these are just some touching on some of the keys we found where we actually are still close friends. We still always love each other, but we also like each other.
We do like it.
One reason is because we're always going to grow together and be open to each other's needs, and it isn't always easy,
No,
and it's
it's
not
really
always
not.
simple either.
Yeah. I have one last quote from a friend. It's a gentleman that Robert skis with, and his wife said this to me. They live in the very, very cold,
Hey, Faith.
and the winter lasts a long time. And so she said, it's so important to learn to have good conversation with your mate when you live where the winter lasts forever. So, that's a thought too. Do you sit together in silence, or do you still have things to talk about?
Have a meaningful
you can only play
conversation.
Scrabble so long.
And that could be the overriding point, is be genuinely interested
Yeah.
in the other's
What they're
passions.
doing.
Take the
Yeah.
time. But anyway, thanks so much, guys. God bless you all. And again, it takes work. And it's worth it many, many, many times over. I love my sweetheart. Now, 23 years later, we have so much joy and so much happiness and so much just, to me, life is magnified and exponentially more fun when you have this meaningful relationship. So
Bye.
take care. We're off to
Thank you.
celebrate our anniversary.
That's right.
God bless.